17. Insanity in the parking garage. Dear Kiddo, take my hand into darkness. Chapter whatever this was. Denver, a city of mountains, microbreweries, and apparently monumental meltdowns. When I agreed to take your mom there for her birthday, on my dime of course, I thought we were on the verge of something meaningful. Love, connection, maybe even trust. But, Kiddo, let me tell you, what unfolded in that Cherry Creek parking garage was something that no amount of relationship books, therapy, or amateur Reddit sleuthing could have prepared me for. The Cherry Creek Conundrum. First, let's talk about Cherry Creek. It wasn't exactly where I pictured us celebrating her birthday. It's the kind of place where people spend $40 on avocado toast and judge your shoes if they're not sustainably sourced. Why Cherry Creek? I asked her. Because I want to, she replied. That should have been my first red flag. But like the romantic fool I was, I let it slide. Things started off fine. We ate well, drank better, and indulged in enough small talk to make me forget, for a moment, that she had likely gaslit me into doubting my own memory about a very serious conversation back at Rio Chama. But then, out of nowhere, her phone buzzed. The cancer guy text. Her reaction to that text was immediate and wild. It's him, she whispered, her voice heavy with drama, like we were in the first act of a Lifetime movie. When I asked who him was, she dropped the bomb, an ex-patient from her cancer clinic. We didn't even kiss, she said, which was so specific it felt like an admission of guilt. Who says that? No one adds. And I definitely didn't hand him a love note while he was hooked up to an IV bag. I didn't even have time to process this revelation before the crying started. Not the single tear streaming down your face, Oscar-winning kind of crying. This was full-on, racking sobs from the depths of hell crying. She insisted she needed to be alone. Sure, I said. Because what else can you say when someone's face is dissolving faster than ice in a Denver summer? The parking garage freakout, I gave her space. A lot of space. I went up to the room, wandered around the block, even lit a cigarette in the name of existential reflection. But as I approached the parking garage, I heard it. The unmistakable sound of someone absolutely losing it. The kind of scream that makes you think, did someone discover a spider the size of a dinner plate? Or maybe there's a bear? No, kiddo. There was no spider, no bear. There was only your mother, pounding the dashboard of my car like it owed her money, and screaming bloody murder, watching the madness unfold. From a safe distance, I stood there, frozen. It was like witnessing a live performance of Macbeth in the original Unhinged. She was screaming incoherently, her fists hitting the dashboard like a toddler mid-tantrum. This went on for what felt like an eternity, but was probably 10 seconds, because, let's be honest, I was too afraid to get closer. I couldn't help but think, is this the moment? The moment when I find out she's possessed by some ancient Cherry Creek spirit? Eventually, I mustered the courage to tap on the window. Gently, like you would if you were trying to wake a bear without getting mauled. She looked up, her face streaked with tears, her expression somewhere between help me and leave me alone, or I will destroy you. The aftermath, processing the chaos. What do you even say to someone after witnessing that? Hey, you good? Didn't feel sufficient. But your mom, in her twisted brilliance, managed to brush it off like it was no big deal. I just needed to let it out, she said, wiping her face like this was an impromptu yoga retreat, and not the most alarming thing I had ever seen. It was in that moment that I started to question everything. This wasn't just a quirky meltdown. This was a full-on psychological implosion. And yet, I stayed, because at that point, I didn't have the vocabulary to describe what I was dealing with. Sociopathy? Cluster B personality disorders? I thought those were characters in Star Trek. I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went. I just knew I was stuck in it. Hindsight is 20/20ths. Looking back, this was one of the many moments that should have screamed, run to me. But hindsight is a cruel teacher. At the time, I told myself that this was just one bad night, that everyone has their moments. But deep down, I knew. I knew this wasn't normal, and it wasn't okay. And yet, like a moth to a flame, or a guy trying to save $150 on a therapy session, I stayed. Final thoughts. Kiddo, if there's one thing you take away from this chapter of my life, let it be this. When someone starts screaming in a parking garage for no discernible reason, pay attention. It's not a quirk, it's a billboard-sized warning sign that reads, "Get out." And if you ever find yourself thinking, maybe this is just a phase, remember this story. It wasn't a phase, it was foreshadowing. And I ignored it because it was possible, and I was stupid enough to think it was necessary.